Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 40 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choi. What's up? So this week, something that I love is hot pretzels. You know, the soft kind. They can be a snack, maybe part of a meal. They're great for sharing. I like to get the salted kind and then remove 98% of the salt on the pretzel itself. Anyway, for everything about this show, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. Everything you need is there. Social media, episode archive, links to listening options. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is peoplewelovepodcast. And remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, 5-star positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is former middle school news weatherman and comedian Max Castillo. Max joins me to tell me all about growing up in Pensacola and then later studying at Florida State University. And it was at FSU where he formed his own comedy club called Scoopty Boopties. He explains the origin of the name in the interview itself. But these days, Max and his Scoopty Boopties crew have brought their hilarious monthly show to Los Angeles. But along the way, Max has had many comedic and artistic influences. Adult Swim cartoons, Dave Chappelle's stand-up. But one particular person stands out, and Max has always been a fan of this person since way back when, since the days of MySpace. I'm talking about none other than Donald Glover / Childish Gambino. But let's just get into it. Here's Max Castillo. So it's good to see you today, Max Castillo.
Wow, thank you so much. It's good to see you too, Adam.
Yeah, man. How's it going?
It's going well.
How's your day going? How's your week going?
It was good. The week was a little biz. Just work. We've been getting a lot of scripts coming out and stuff. I work at a Family Guy as an office PA, so anytime it's like we get like a rewrite or something, which happens a lot. Like by the time you see an episode of Family Guy, it's probably been rewritten, I don't know, like almost 36 times, just like tweaking little things here and there. But like even if they change like a comma somewhere, we have to like reprint it. So I have to like go. We've been getting a lot of scripts because the writers just came back, but it's been good, man. It's been a good week. It's cooling down out here. It's so hot for so long.
No, today was cool.
It was cloudy. I was like, is this for real?
Yeah.
Is this for real? I can't believe it.
Yeah, you know you just called out your employers for not being environmentally friendly.
No. No,
Yeah, it's all good.
Hollywood's not environmentally friendly. Sorry to peel back the curtain.
No, but you'd like to say that they are.
They are. We actually recycle all of our paper.
No, that's good.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So now I won't get fired.
Problem solved.
Boom.
Yeah. And what else is going on besides the busy week? Doing stand-up this week or anything? Right?
This week, I know. I'm on a show next Tuesday or maybe the Tuesday after. I can't remember. But yeah, sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'm on Heavy Heavy Low Low, which is Tuesday nights at Bar Lubbish in West Hollywood.
Yeah, we'll get to we'll do reminders too.
I'm stoked to do that.
That's awesome.
That's like been a bucket list show of mine for a while. So I get to do that. I'm very excited. But no, the week after we do the Scoopties, I kind of take it a little chill just because that building up to that show is just like a stress, you know? So I kind of like to calm down. Maybe. Yeah,
that's the show that you host at your...
Yeah. So I do a show at my house once a month, me and my 4 other co-producers. They're all lovely. Joey, Oscar, Miranda, Kiara. We all put it on together at our house, and it's an absolute blast. I've been really like lucky and blessed for like what it's grown into. And we actually started doing it in college at Florida State. And it was just like a show at an apartment, a friend of mine's apartment. And I wanted to create an environment where my friends that had never done stand-up could do stand-up. But I also wanted to create an environment where like my friends that did stand-up could just like go for as long as they wanted. Because the stand-up scene in Tallahassee is like kind of small. Like it's not, I mean, it's actually very like alive for like that, how small it is. But
it's limited.
Yeah, limited. Yeah, there's like one night a week it's at this place called Birds, which is great, but it's just one night a week and you can only do like 5 minutes. So I was like, well, let's make our own thing and then we can just do whatever we want.
So this was your idea?
Yeah, it was me and my friend Phelan, who's a really good friend of mine that now lives in New York, and we came up with it. We want to do like an apartment show, and Florida State's like a super artsy college. Like not a lot of people know that.
No, I would not have thought that.
Yeah, we have like a really thriving arts community, and so people are doing just like performance art and theater pieces all over the place. I went to one of the best pieces of theater I've ever seen was called Sissy, and it was like in a bathroom. Like you went to this like bathroom and there was like, you got this text. It was like, come to this floor in this building on campus, come to this bathroom. And then it was just like this show that took place in a bathroom. And it was so good. There's a lot of stuff like that going on. So we wanted to make our own like, stand-up show. And we decided to call it Scoopty Boopty's Comedy Club because that name comes from a friend of mine named Evan who used to work at the Whole Foods in Tallahassee. One time almost got like written up at work because he was working the pizza station at Whole Foods. And while he was tossing the pizza dough, he just started yelling Italian gibberish. Like he was just like, Alfredo pasta, scoopty boopty, pizza pie, la la. And like his boss was like, hey, that's super offensive. You can't do that. And we thought that was hilarious. Like the phrase scoopty boopty. Like, so that's where that came from. And that's where the name Scoopty Boopty came from.
I think it's hilarious that he was doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that he got yelled at for doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that people think that's offensive.
Yeah. It's Whole Foods. It's Whole Foods. I feel like you would probably get away with that at like a Winn-Dixie or a Publix, but Whole Foods, they're like, no, we got to cut that off. But
I mean, I'm sure it's offensive to some people. but you can't. I mean, I don't know.
It's like white people making fun of white people. I feel like that's straight.
Yeah.
I feel like that's good. But yeah, so we just had our last show for that last Saturday. You were there.
Yeah, I did not know what Scoopty Boopty. I've been to 4 or 5 shows at least, and I did not know what Scoopty Boopty meant. And I was kind of avoiding finding out for some reason. I don't know why.
No, it's nothing scary.
No, nothing scary. I just liked the idea, the mystery behind it. So
man, well I just ruined. You did sorry, ruin everyone.
No, but you know what? It's okay because it came out organically in this interview. So,
okay, good.
So I got content.
Good
Content of it. Why don't we rewind a little bit? Why don't you tell me about where you were born and raised, and we'll get back into leading up to Florida State and Florida State or Florida.
Florida.
I don't even know how to say it because I'm
Florida.
From,
where are you from?
I'm from New York, but I don't really.
Are you from like upstate?
Long Island, but I've been in LA a long time, so I'm almost like Florida, orange and Florida.
There you go.
But I can do orange and Florida if I want to. I can go right into that.
Florida. You sound like, if you say Florida, you sound like you're from South Florida.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of, there's a lot of like northern expats that live in South Florida. Florida. No, I say Florida. Florida. Yeah. I'm from the Panhandle, Florida. It comes out so hard. If I say the word rural, like my accent comes out so hard. Like R-U-R-A-L, I'm like rural. I can't say that without sounding
it's all one
like,
syllable?
Yeah, rural. I can't say that without sounding like country AF. Anyways,
true.
I'm a Navy baby. I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad was in the Navy, and he went to flight school in Pensacola. It's a huge Navy-based town. And met my mom. They got married, and then... They got married, then transferred up to Virginia. That's where I was born. And then like 3 months after I was born, they transferred back down to Pensacola. So I pretty much grew up in Pensacola like my entire life. Loved it. It's a really fun town. It's like just big enough to not feel super small, but it's like small enough to feel quaint.
Right.
Really interesting mix of cultures too, because it's like a really pretty beach town, but it's not one of those overly developed Florida beach towns like Panama City or anything like that. It's very nice. And it's right on the Gulf Coast. We have a lot of like history with like the French. So we have like a lot of New Orleans kind of cuisine traditions with big Mardi Gras town. It's this really weird melting pot of like Southern meets beach meets like French meets Spanish influence. That's really cool. My mom lives there. She's my biggest hero. Love her to death. Still, like most of my family lives there. So whenever I talk to them about moving out here, they were all like, that's so far away. And I was like, well, I've been in Tallahassee for 3 years and that's 2 hours away and none of you have come to visit. So like, what's the difference? But yeah, loved it. Went to high school there. I was super involved in student government in high school. I loved like doing like leadership stuff and community service and all that. I was a golden boy. I like didn't drink or anything like that, but I wasn't like a buzzkill. Like I was chill.
So you liked leadership and community service just because you really liked helping people and how that made you feel?
Yeah.
Did you were you trying to fill up a resume for college, or was it all the above?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, but I really did like feeling like I was making school better and like more fun.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of my favorite parts, because I remember like I was always like that. Like in middle school, I was on the school news, and I would do like funny. I did the weather, and I would always try to do like a funny accent or like a character
on like this TV news
yeah, on like the TV news or wear like a fake mustache or something. I got bullied for it. People were like, "Oh, look at this! He's trying to make school fun. What an idiot!" Well, whatever, dude. I was just doing me. I was out there doing me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It makes sense now.
I will say though, like I had a girl later who her name is Christina. I had a girl like tell me later on in high school when like she was a junior and I was a sophomore. She went to middle school with me and she was like, "Hey, like I just want to say I remember when you would do the news, like I always thought it was super awesome." And she was like one of the coolest kids in middle school and I was like, "It was worth it."
Where does that rank on your all-time life
honestly
moments?
It's probably like 7. It's probably 7.
I was gonna say top 10, and I'm not saying that in any judgmental way, because it's a girl, and you know what makes it good? It's that like time passed. She remembered.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? She's like, remember that. She had thought about it again.
Which is like pivotal because I was like, I was like 15, very fragile. Yeah. And gave me that confidence boost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was super involved in like student government in high school. And it was funny because I had like these teachers being like, "Oh, you're so like," because I've never had a fear of being in front of a crowd. Like in high school, I would host pep rallies. I'd be in front of like 1,500 kids, be like, "What's up?" Like,
where does that come from?
I don't know, because no one in my family.
You said you weren't a drinker, so it wasn't alcohol driven.
Loved it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was like the youngest of my cousins, so I was always just like the center of attention as when I was like a wee lad.
Did you have siblings?
I do. I have. So my parents got divorced when I was 6. Dab. And my dad remarried my stepmom. I love my stepmom. I love my dad. And they have 2 kids, my younger brothers, who are 19 and 17. I actually just talked to my youngest brother on the way over here for like 45 minutes. Like, I love those kids. And then I have an older stepbrother who's 4 years older than me. So, yeah, I don't have any like siblings between my parents, but they're my brothers. Like, it doesn't matter what like the relation is. Like, I've known them pretty much my whole life at this point.
But you said you were the
youngest out of my cousins, like on my mom's side. Like I was like, there's I think like 8 or 9 of us, and I was the youngest by like 8 years. So growing up, I was always kind of like
getting attention.
Yeah,
I see.
And I don't know where that came from, because like I said, like none of my other cousins are really like that, and none of my brothers are like that either.
Your parents like that?
My dad is like my dad's always like cutting up and telling jokes and stuff. He's never been afraid of like the spotlight, but not on that level. Like my dad, like never.
You're taking it to the next level, so
crushing it.
Parents should be proud.
Thank you, dude. My grandfather was like a preacher, so he's really the only person who like could stand up in front of everyone and talk, because that was like his job for 50 something years. But maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. But
part of it.
Yeah, I always had these teachers that were like, "You should really try like performing or acting or something." And at the time I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." Like, blah blah blah. And I was
how old were at what age were you being told this?
Oh, like when I was like 16, 17, like junior, senior year of high school, and I really was into like doing. I was really into skateboarding at the time, and like I was really into like doing music and like writing raps. I've always loved writing raps, and I like just never thought I would get into like this kind of thing. I never saw myself as like doing theater. And then when I got to Florida State, on this rant. So I was really involved at the radio station at Florida State in the news department. That's where I met my like first wave of like FSU friends, because a really good buddy of mine from Pensacola was in there. And then a few months down the road, it was like February. It's like my first spring semester. He randomly invited me on Facebook to this thing that was called 30 and 60. It was a sketch comedy group at Florida State. And I was like, "Oh, hey, like, are you going to this? Like, what made you want to invite me?" And he was like, "Oh, I know someone who's in it. They said they're looking for, they're having auditions. They said they're just looking for new members. So I figured you'd be a good fit for it." So I went into this like blindly and I remember feeling like intimidated, like because I got there and we all were going around, like all the people that were auditioning were talking, and they were like, "Yeah, like I'm a theater major and I've done this and that." And I was just like, "Hey, I'm Max. I don't do any of that. I'm just here." And everybody was kind of like, "All right." And then I got in. And I literally met like all my closest friends that I have from college, all the ones I live out here with, I met through that group.
That's great.
I met my friend Joey, who's like been a huge influence on me, and like he's actually the reason I'm out here like doing this. Like I met him through that group, and it was just so funny how it was this little off the cuff random thing, and I just like went. And now I'm on this track where like I'm out here doing this with my life. So Moved. I was in that.
Well, let's go back from it. So you're you're in this sketch group, and you're finding out that you love this. And were you a film? What was your major?
So my major was editing, writing, and media, which is
okay. So you knew that this is what you wanted to do, pretty much.
Well, I was going
into college.
I was gonna go. No, I was originally gonna go this like journalistic like / broadcast like route with it because I really loved doing the news at the radio station in college, and I was like,
in middle school you were the weatherman.
Yeah, exactly. I love doing that. Like I have a really solid news voice. I would do the news in Tallahassee, and I'd be like,
yeah, I was gonna put you on the spot.
Good afternoon, Tallahassee. This is Max Castillo for B89 News, the voice of Florida State. Like, just it's deep, man. It's crisp. So I originally I wanted to go into the field of like broadcasting and like getting a career like doing that, and then I got into this comedy troupe and. Like, you know, at the time, to be real with you, at the time, I was kind of in this weird like mindset. And I was just like, oh, man, I kind of don't know what I want to do with my life. And then I was in a short play. There was like it's part of this show they do every year at FSU called Flow. It's 10 plays, 10 minutes each. I was in one of them, directed by Joey, the guy that lives out here with me. He puts on Scoopies with me. And he just like asked me to be in it because I was in 30 and 60. And the show went up. It was awesome. People loved it. I got like really good compliments, but it was an incredible cast and all that. And I was like really grateful to be in it. But then I'll never forget, like he sent me a text like the next week that was just like, hey dude, it's Joey. I don't even think I had his number at this point because like we weren't like that close. And he was like, hey dude, it's Joey. Like I just wanted to say you did a really good job in the play this weekend. I honestly like think you could pursue this and have a career in it if it's something you're interested in. And I was just like,
in acting specifically, or
just like comedy in general. And I was just like, I remember getting that text and just something inside me was like, this is it, dude. Like, go for it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So me and him started hanging out more and talking and just like basically formulating this plan to eventually graduate and move out to LA. And here we are.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. So many people I talk to, that's how it happens. They talk to one person, one encouragement from one person, taking one class, taking one improv class. And then the rest is history. Like people's lives, they change directions.
It's been crazy, and it honestly was like kind of like a really big like growing up moment for me too. Because I mean, before I had like comedy in my life, I wasn't really like a good student. I just kind of was like skating by because I had no direction. And then once I had this thing to work towards, I was like, oh man, I got to graduate. I got to get out of here so I can get out there and like do that. Then I started like getting more discipline and stuff. And so it's really funny because like in a way comedy made me a more serious person. Yeah. It's like it's pretty like ironic statement.
To get good at it or anything, you got to take time to work at it. What were some of the comedy influences you had growing up, really up until high school, college, when you were a kid? All kind of all the above. I know you mentioned Family Guy. That is something you grew up watching, but what inspired you, if not to get into this racket yourself, but at least what were you entertained by when you were a kid?
So I always even as like a young kid, loved watching stand up. Like I used to watch Premium Blend, Comedy Central Presents, and I remember like the old Comedy Central Presents. I'll never forget when I was like 9 and I saw Comedy Central Presents, and it was the Pablo Francisco episode where he has like the all gray like button down pants combo with like the white tennis shoes, like the most like 2001 outfit you could ever have. But like I was so captivated, and to this day Pablo Francisco is like a big influence on my stand up, and he's kind of like a deep cut now, like for stand up comedians. Because he just like he's just so funny. He's so energetic. I feel like I do try to like kind of like take a few things from him because he was the first comedian I ever saw. Because I feel like my generation growing up, like the Jerry Seinfeld style was like the main style. You know, like have you ever seen this? Have you ever noticed this? You know what I mean? So, and then once I saw Pablo Francisco and he was doing all these voices, like all like the movie trailer voice guy, all these like weird like character bits, I was like, oh my God, this is so fun. So like that dude was huge for me. Dave Chappelle. I remember being like 10 and me and my older brother staying up late to watch Dave Chappelle's Killing 'Em Softly stand-up special on HBO. I had it memorized. Yeah, like, and I remember even though I was 10 and like I didn't really get most of the jokes, I could like tell just like the timing was so good, and like that special to me also has like a huge place in my heart. For sure. And then I think the most beautiful thing to ever happen to comedy was 2001 when Adult Swim went on the air, because that was like right around the time that my mom bought me a TV for my like birthday. This like little tiny, it was like, I think like 11 or 12 inches across. It was so small, but I had this little TV in my bedroom and I would stay up really late and with the volume all the way down, even though my mom like didn't care. It was so fun because it was like 9:30. Like it wasn't even super late because I grew up in the central time zone. So it was like an hour behind, but I would stay up late and watch Adult Swim. And like, when like Family Guy reruns would come on, Futurama, the really early like C Lab 2021, all those like real Aqua Teen, all those really old Adult Swim shows, it kind of like started shaping me to be like, oh, comedy can be really weird. Like, and that's kind of why I think I was such a Cartoon Network kid growing up, because all of those like cartoon shows like Ed, Edd n Eddy, Mike, Lou and Og, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, like all those shows were so weird. And they were so good though. And I loved them so much more than like the Disney shows and Nickelodeon shows, which I love SpongeBob and like Rugrats, don't get me wrong. But like when, you know, there's a show where like I Am Weasel and IR Bad, but like Courage the Cowardly Dog is to me such a good kid show because it's just so weirdly scary and funny. I don't know. But yeah, like I think those are probably all my biggest influences because each one of those showed me that like comedy doesn't have to be what everyone else is doing. You can kind of make it your own thing.
Did you have these revelations at the time you were watching these shows, or did you just knew you liked them and were entertained by them?
Well, I don't think I quite had the revelations. I think I liked them, but I also realized they were different. Like I realized like Aqua Teen Hunger Force was weird because like, you know, the main characters were a wad of meat, a milkshake, and a box of fries.
Yeah, I recall.
And whenever they would like throw something on the ground like trash, it would like explode. Like I thought that was so funny. And it honestly wasn't until like later down the road that I actually started creating comedy that I realized all these things.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I was always like into like really weird kind of like stuff like that. Like I loved like Albino Black Sheep, like all the Flash videos from back in the day, like Group X, like 55 and all those. Like those to me were like these weird little nuggets that were just so weirdly unique. And like that's why I love them. And I think that's kind of what I like try to do in my stand-up and my sketches and stuff that I do, because what I want to do is like bring you guys into my world. And like I want to like tell you guys about the things and how I see the world. I don't want to try to be like, hey, have you ever noticed like, oh, and you know, I'm not saying like if you do that kind of comedy, it's bad, because I've seen people do that and lose my mind. But my point is just like, whenever I'm on stage, I want you guys to like see the world how I see it. And like how I feel like how I see the world is uniquely me. And like, I want you guys to experience that.
Yeah, I hear it. I think just as long as people are being true to themselves up there, I mean, everyone's got their own style.
Yeah.
What about Donald Glover? When did you start to discover his work? Was that earlier on or after?
It was super early. So I like Donald Glover is like my biggest comedy influence because I remember when I was in the 9th grade, so like 2006, like the summer before 9th grade started, I was on YouTube, and this was like early days of YouTube. And that's one of the things I like love him for was so he was in a group called Derek Comedy, which their YouTube sketches, some of them, I'll be real, some of them are like, that's like, yeah, I don't know if you could do that today, but they still like hold up. They're still so funny. And I remember finding those videos like way back in the day. The first one I ever saw was called The B-Boy Stance. And you know how like old school rappers from like the 70s and 80s always pose like this with their arms crossed? Yeah. So the whole premise behind the sketch was Donald Glover plays this old retired hip hop artist who was so into hip hop in the 70s. He got his arms surgically attached to his back like this so he couldn't move them. And I was like, that's such a funny idea.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking that dude up. I was like, I just have to know more about this because all those dudes were hilarious.
So that was the first sketch that you saw
of Donald Glover, and this was like this is 2006. So this is like before.
This must still be on YouTube. I'm gonna have to.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, do it. So this was like before he was on 30 Rock, before Community, all that. And I remember also finding out that this guy did music. And I remember looking up the Childish Gambino music MySpace. And he had maybe like 600 friends. And I remember listening to his songs being like, whoa, this guy can also rap. And it's so funny to think
you
now.
You were really in before it was cool.
Yeah, dude, I told you, he's like, I love this guy. So
I guess I didn't know, but I was...
Dude, I told you I had the research. But yeah, so I remember, but it's just so funny now to think like how big of a name and an act he is.
Right.
But like to think. So I remember just following his career, and and he had like such a crazy meteoric rise. Like a lot of people don't know this, but he's from Atlanta. He went to NYU, and he like was in New York doing UCB stuff. And then when he was still like an RA at NYU, like living in a dorm, he got a writing gig on 30 Rock. So like, which is like nuts, right? So he was I mean, clearly he was such like a
on another
beautiful,
level.
prodigy. And then the other dudes in Derek Comedy, I can't remember Dom's last name, but their names are Dom and DC Pearson. And Dominic, the dude that's in the sketch comedy group with him, actually works in the building I work in now. And the other day he came in the elevator, and I looked over and I was just like, oh my God. And I like, my coworker was like, what's up? I was like, I'll tell you in a minute. And then when we got out of the elevator, I like tried to explain to her who that guy was. And she's just like, oh, that's cool. But I was like freaking out. I was like, dude, that's like one of my like teenage childhood heroes. Like that guy's so
Why
funny.
did you not say anything?
Because we were in an elevator with like 13 other people in it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be like, oh, dude, well, you know what I mean? So if I catch him again, I'll try to like have a little chat with him. But I didn't want to, because I was like, he got in the elevator and I was in one corner and he was in the like opposite corner, and there was so many people between us. And so
I see.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like, oh, what's up? Yeah.
No,
I mean,
okay, he's not standing right next to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if he's right next to you, kind of just look over and be like, hey, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Big fan.
That would have been amazing. But so so then following Donald and then watching him go from 30 Rock to like getting cast on Community. And then I remember his like first stand-up special came out 2012 called Weirdo. And then all the while he just like Childish Gambino is like dropping music and getting like bigger and bigger and better and better. And then I loved him on Community. Like the first like 2.5 to like 3-ish seasons of Community are like some of the best television I've ever seen, just like because the show is so smart. And then now to see where he's at, like with Atlanta is one of my favorite shows ever. I think it's one of the best like shows like written this century. It's so good. And it's also really cool because like my dad's lived in Atlanta since I was 8. So like Atlanta, I've always looked at Atlanta as like my second hometown. So it's also cool to see someone finally like, you know, doing a lot for like Atlanta and seeing Atlanta represented in like TV and stuff. But yeah, that show's incredible. And it's also just so funny to watch how much he's matured, both in like his writing and his comedy and his music. Like his music has gotten like, I feel like when he first came out, he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm like a funny guy rapping, but it was so good. And then now he performs and I'm like, dude, you could have sex with everyone in here. You are just crushing it. He comes out with like,
I think he may have had that chance years ago as well.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
Just like he just comes out like no shirt, leather pants. He's like, daylight. I'm like, oh my God, you were a grown man now. So yeah, I've been into him for a while, and I feel like I definitely like have like he's like rubbed off on me in terms of like how I do stand up and like my delivery and stuff. But it's just because, I mean, you know, how could he not? He's so good.
So creatively, it's more the stand up and the comedy that's the influence on you. But just him as an artist is you love all of it and you're a fan of all.
Yeah,
all the
100%, 100%. I genuinely think he's one of those people that I think people are just now really starting to realize like how crazy talented he is. But it was a thing for a while where like I had friends who, you know, were super into Childish Gambino, and then I throw on an episode of Community, they like didn't know it was him. You know what I mean? I'd be like, don't you know who that is?
Probably vice versa.
They'd be like, no. I'd be like, what? You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it's just to me, it's like just a real admiration for how funny I think he is. Like I feel like his humor just taps right into me. It's just like boop, like direct download. Just because all of his jokes in Atlanta are so good. And then just also admiring like just how crazy, insanely like talented that dude is. Like it's amazing how much like swag that dude has. It's like untouched.
And I imagine that he probably works pretty hard.
Oh yeah,
he must. Yeah, I don't know when he does all these things.
I mean, I don't know either. Like I remember there was just like one point where he was like filming Community, and then also had just dropped an album, and then also had just dropped a stand-up special. So I was like, how do you, what? Like those are like 3 separate things that people will spend an entire like year dedicating time to. And he was like, bloop, 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 just like one after the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is, I mean, I'm sure he's insanely busy. I'm really stoked because they just went into writers, like the writers room for Atlanta season 3 just started, like as of like maybe this month, I think I heard, which I'm pumped for. I love it. Cause I work for Fox, so every now and then I'll get to go to the Fox lot, and I love going to this one building on the Fox lot because sometimes I go to the floor that's the FX floor, and they have all these cool Atlanta posters. And I worked at this job for 7 months, and I would say probably like once a month I would just be like, hey, do you guys have any Atlanta posters? And they'd be like, oh, I don't think so. But finally a friend of mine who works there is like, yeah, I'll see if I can find you one. And he snagged me one, and I finally have my Atlanta poster, and I'm so fired up for it. I need to get a frame for it, so I need to go to Target. But
I was going to ask if it's up yet. Maybe I had seen it.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, no, I bought a frame for it, but it ended up being the wrong size because I thought it was a much bigger poster than it turned out to be. So then I framed another poster I had, which was nice, so it wasn't a complete loss. But
there you go. I'm glad you're keeping me posted on all your framing needs.
It's very important.
And your decor.
Thank you so much.
Your whole setup. No, have you ever seen? Have you ever crossed paths or seen Donald Glover perform live, be it music or comedy or?
I've only ever seen him live once. It was at a music festival. Ooh, let me see. Should I tell you the real story? I'll tell you the real story. I don't care. I was at a music festival once, and Donald Glover was performing on Saturday. And so Friday night...
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, sorry. Childish Gambino.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I ended up getting to the festival, like, late, and his set was, like, 10 minutes from starting. And for some reason, the festival had him in this really like small stage this was 2014, so he was like pretty big at this point, but the festival had him in like the small little stage that had like a tent over it, and I tried to get there, and like it was jam packed. Like I couldn't even, the wall of people started outside the tent. So I literally just I got really mad, but I just like pushed my way through just so I could get like one glimpse. I was like, all right, cool, and I just like left because I couldn't stay there. It wasn't comfortable. So no, I've never seen him live. I've never gotten to, which honestly just breaks my heart. One time, like I was dating this girl, and I think it was like this concert. She was like, hey, do you want to go to a Drake concert? It's in Tallahassee. And I was like, I don't know. That's like kind of expensive. And then she later was like, oh, it turns out Kendrick Lamar and Childish Gambino opened for him. I was like, why did you not tell me that to begin with?
And she knew that you were a big fan, I'm sure.
And I was just like, I was like, why wouldn't you tell me that was part of it originally? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. So,
well, maybe you should have looked it up.
Sadly. I should have, dude. But you know what? It was 2011, all right? And
they didn't have internet then.
I didn't have time.
There was no internet then. What would you, if you saw Mr. Glover like on the street, what would you say to him? I'll ask that question another way. If you were just saw him on the street, what would you say to him? And if you had a chance to like sit down and like talk to him and have like a lunch or something, what would that conversation be?
Okay,
like,
those are both that's good. That way I get to give both approaches. See, that's my thing, man, is like living in LA, I have like a very short list of celebrities that I'm like, all right, if I see them, I have to say something because like they mean so much to me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's
you know what I mean?
It's more like it's like, do I have something to say to this person? Am I actually a fan? I'm not going to say something just because I recognize someone. That's not enough. Yeah. But if I got something to say, I'll say.
Yeah, exactly. If I saw him in the street, I would want to keep it kind of chill. Like, I don't know. I just like, I kind of pick up on the vibe, and like I don't want to like just come at someone and be like,
sure,
you know. So if I saw him on the street, I'd probably just be like, yo, Donald, big fan, just like keep it going.
Right.
If I got to have lunch with him, oh man, I'd probably rehash everything I just said about him just now. But yeah, I mean, it would be awesome. I would because I feel like I would be one of the few people like who could be like, hey man, like I remember when you were like way back when, you know, and I would have to probably hit him with a few lines from like one of his really old MySpace rap songs. Yeah. So then he would know I was a real one. Yeah. And then we would become best friends and hang out all the time.
Yeah, that's
how that would go.
The hope would be.
There was, I think like, this is completely unrelated, but I have to tell the story. So like, but the last time I was in that position, it worked out great for me. And it was Andre 3000. And I
drop names.
I love Andre 3000. And I was out at dinner with my really good friend Nishima, who like I love to death. Shouts out Nishima. And she's also from Atlanta. And so we were sitting at this restaurant, and it's really funny because she was like about to open up and be like, hey, like I'm just having a really tough time with something. Can I get your advice? And I go, shut your mouth. And she was like, what? And I was like, Andre 3000 is about to walk in this restaurant. And she's like, are you serious? And I was like, yep. And like Andre 3000 comes in, walks right past us, and we both start freaking out. We're like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, we're going to say something. And so he walks by and I go, hey, Andre. And he turns to us and he's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, we're from Atlanta. We love Outkast. He goes, oh, y'all from Atlanta? Oh man, nice to meet you. I'm Andre. And he like shook our hands and like learned our names. And then I was like, wow, that was magical. And then he went outside and was like talking with the owner of the restaurant. And I was like, all right, like we got to go get a picture with him because we saw another group come take a picture with him. So we're like, all right. So we walk out. We're like, hey, so sorry to bug you, man. Do you mind if we get a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, y'all are from Atlanta. You got to get a picture. So he took a photo with Andre 3000. And then he was like, so what do y'all do out here? And my friend Ashima was like, oh, I'm like a filmmaker. And he's like, I was like, oh, that's awesome. What about you? And I was like, I'm a comedian. He goes, oh, really? Like stand up? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, that's hard. I don't know how you do it. I commend you for that. And I was like, thanks. And on the inside, I was like, ah! And like, then he just walked off into the night, like being Andre 3000. And I couldn't believe it because Andre 3000 is one of those like idols to me that if I said, hey, can I have a picture? And he told me to like go fuck myself, I would still be like best day of my life.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I've been told go fuck myself, and I consider it a I don't know.
So
that means they paid attention to you.
Exactly. So it was the fact that he was so nice. It was like such an incredible experience. So like, but that's the thing though, is like that was such a huge risk, and like maybe I would take that if I saw Donald Glover somewhere, but it would have to really depend on the situation because. You know, I feel like just if someone's like going somewhere, like I would never want to stop someone and just be like, hey, yeah, and because they don't, you know what I mean? But if I had lunch with them, it'd be a completely different ballgame. But that was such a good way to ask that question.
Yeah, I wonder if comedians have a good sense of like, you know, or even up and coming comedians, whatever, like dealing with celebrities and higher profile people, because you guys have to know how to read a room and kind of feel the room and you know, as far as the whole stand-up approach, does that, you know, think help you you know, feel out situations in life?
Yeah, that's
whether it's dealing with celebrities or otherwise. Does your stand-up training help you deal with you know,
I think so. I mean, that's really I've actually never thought of it like that, but I think honestly, because I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good knack of like telling what kind of like vibe someone's on just by like talking with them and stuff. And I think it does come from that because you're absolutely right. Like if you're going to do well, you know, if maybe you tell one joke and it doesn't go well, you got to like learn how to adjust and stuff. Sure. So, I mean, yeah, maybe, I'm trying to think, cause I don't know if I've ever like went up to talk to someone and they were like, nope. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I think I've either don't even take the leap, you know, unless I know for a fact someone is like, because I think I'm also too afraid of like approaching someone that I really look up to. And if maybe it's just not their day and they are kind of mean to me, I want to be like, oh, and like, you know, but
it'll change your whole view of them.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll remember that moment and never want to work with you again, even if
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
God, what a nightmare that would be.
That would be.
So, but yeah, it's a weird thing, man. It's my friend Jacob was once talking about this, and he was like, so we listened to this podcast called My Brother and Me, and it's really funny. But my friend Jacob's listened to like pretty much every episode, and they've done like 400 episodes. And he was like, yeah, it would be so weird to meet them because I've literally heard these people talk for hundreds of hours about their lives. So I feel like I know so much about them and they don't even know I exist. So it is like, it kind of is like this thing where once you like live in a place where there are a lot of celebrities. And I mean, my mom also, I did ask my mom for advice on this because my mom works at the arena back home. So my mom, anytime there's a concert or like anything like that, my mom like handles like the people that come in, and my mom's just used to it. But she said like, yeah, it is like kind of weird knowing that like, you know, you're taking this person's like order for like what they need for their rider and stuff, knowing that like in a few hours they're gonna walk on stage and there's gonna be 15,000 people who are like, ah! But like right now they're just some dude that needs a cup of coffee, you know. But it's weird. It's kind of weird. Like the concept of a celebrity is kind of strange when you think about it.
It's very weird.
Yeah. Like I feel like when I was young and like was first like getting into like performing and trying to make a career in art, I was like, oh dude, that's gonna be so sick. But I feel like at this point in my life, I'm like, yeah, it would be cool sometimes, But I don't know. Like I feel like I want to get like Flo from Progressive level successful. Like, yeah, like Stephanie Courtney, like that's the actress that does Flo for Progressive. Like that's the perfect dude, because she just gets a bag every year. She does those commercials. She makes such a good living, but she's not so famous that like she can't go anywhere. I feel like she could low key like be somewhere, and you like might recognize her but can't place her.
Right. Yeah.
That's like that, or like
she's not dressed.
Yeah, if she doesn't have like the whole
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a show once a week at the Groundlings in West Hollywood called Crazy Uncle Joe Show, and it is one of the best improv shows I've ever seen. She's a monster at improv. She's so good.
That's her. Is that her primary?
Yeah, I think
interest,
she.
I mean, obviously, besides Progressive.
Yeah, she's a Groundlings alum, and she does that. I know she does. I'm sure she does other shows, but I know she does that show once a week, and then just makes those commercials.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what a life, dude! You just get to do these fun commercials where you get to be this like fun, quirky character.
And she must have. I mean, I can probably Google this, but she probably has a contract with them. I imagine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, she's been. I remember being in like middle school when those commercials started.
Yeah.
And that was like 14 years ago. So
that must be. I mean, she must be moving units or whatever.
Yeah.
She must be selling
a lot of insurance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they keep. I mean, she's friendly. She's. I mean, I'm not going to analyze her. I don't want to.
Let's do it. Let's shift gears. But
I could. I kind of do want to keep going on the flow analysis and why she's appealing.
She's hilarious. She's so funny.
She's talented, but she's got kind of like a mom, but she's also attractive, but she's not like,
Yeah. She's a total
over the
package.
top.
She's a total package. She's awesome. She's so funny. I would love to just sit down and have lunch with her. Like,
I might have to go see her perform.
Dude, do it. Yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah. So the format of the show, it's improv, but it's so fast paced, because what they do is they'll start off with like 2 or 3 scenes, kind of like set the story, and then it just like it's like go, and there will be some scenes that are maybe like 12 seconds long, where like one person comes in and says one thing, and then they just keep switching it.
Is this all interconnected?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and the people that do it are so good. But whenever I went last time to see that show, it's been a while, honestly. But I remember like Stephanie Courtney, within the span of like 45 seconds, played like 3 different characters twice each. Like they were like bloop, 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 and she just flawlessly switched between all of them.
That's insane.
It was so impressive. But yeah, I think I don't even know what the original question was here. But
I don't think there was one.
I was started talking about 3000 and then
it's all good. We
off.
covered Donald Glover. We covered a lot of your Florida State and moving to Los Angeles. I mean, do you have any other updates as far as like things you're working on now? Anything you wanted to share before you give us your plugs and things like that?
Nothing right now. I mean, I'm just kind of writing some stuff, but it's so early on. I don't want to be like, all right, here it comes, because
of course.
But no, I mean, right now, just like the thing I think I'm putting the most of my time in is stand up and Scoopties. Which it's been like such an absolute blast putting that show on. I'm so glad you've been. How did you hear about the show the first time?
I think Theo Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
And he was performing there. I'm like, I'm gonna go check you out. Do you have a show upcoming? He's like, this one. I'm like, all right, I'll go.
Oh, God,
there I am.
That's so cool, because I love because
another comedian, of course.
Oh yeah, Theo Manhattan's great. Shout out Theo Manhattan. Actually, Theo Manhattan, so he was on the first time he was on our show was last Halloween show. And that was like kind of an oh shit moment for me, because I hadn't met him until that point, but I'd seen his name. Dude, Theo Manhattan crushes it. He's so funny. He's all over town, like clubs, doing touring shows. He does like stints in Vegas. And he's also my boy. But when he did our show, I was like, oh man, we got this guy on the show. This is like a big deal. And then after the show, he was like, hey man, thanks. Like, that was such a bucket list show of mine. Like,
That's a pretty good impression of him.
He was like, this is like a bucket list show of mine. And I was like, what? And that was kind of a moment where I had realized like, oh dude, like this show is not just like a thing me and my friends do now.
No, I don't think so.
Which it's just, I don't know. Like I said, it's just been such an incredible ride. I've been so stoked to be a part of it. But yeah, like because we first did the show out here in December 2017, it was like mostly just our friends, mostly our friends on the show, and then who came. And I was like, all right, we'll see where this goes. And then just to see what it's become is so awesome.
What are the biggest challenges with putting on the show? Just writing and being funny?
Yeah.
just coming up with new material?
Well, I honestly
producing stuff, or
I've never really been worried about putting on of coming up material, because I always stay productive. I always try to be on my best. And I think it's honestly the pressure of not doing good at my own show that makes me so like
I see
hit the grind. Because but I mean the biggest challenge is honestly just like trying to find that perfect lineup. I think one of the things we do really well with our show is we always book it in such a way that it's completely like, we try to like gender balance as much as possible. We try to make sure there's a lot of diversity, but we also try to like find the acts that we think are a good fit for our show. Just because it's such a unique vibe, you know, and it's just hard because sometimes we'll book someone, and if no one's ever like seen them perform, we're like, all right. And then most of the time they pull it out. But it is weird, like running a show at your house. I know that's like not like a super uncommon thing in LA.
No.
But it is uncommon to people who like aren't in like the comedy community out here. So I love it when I have friends come in town from like Florida or something, and they're like, wait, you do a show at your house? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay. And then after the show, they say my favorite thing ever, which is, that was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's
people
awesome.
told me that when I brought them.
People always say that, which is like, we try really hard because we do like, we make it a comedy club. Like I turn my bedroom into a green room for the comedians. We have like drinks and snacks in there. Like we try to make it feel like a comedy club inside a house. And that's one of my favorite parts about it. That's just like my mom, like coming out in me, because my mom has always been about like, just take care of your guests, you know, feed them, make sure. So I was like, all right. And I remember when I told my mom that I did that, she was so proud. She was like, wow, like you're doing like my job. And I was like, heck yeah. But yeah, doing the show is an absolute blast. And honestly, like there'd be some weeks where I'm having like a bad week or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, like LA, I feel so down. And then I'll do that show, and it's like a defibrillator to the chest. I'm like, all right, like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, I know. You need that boost once in a while. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people realize in LA or wherever that there's so many talented, funny comedians out there. Yeah. Like I feel like it's either like, oh, it's either you're Chris Rock or you're terrible. But there's so many people out there that are super talented, and I can see who's been at it like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years right away when I see people perform.
I mean, I think LA like is such a cool comedy town because a lot of the most promising like up and coming comedians aren't really in the clubs right now. Like they're doing the like DIY stuff like that. Like this dude Dave Ross, who crushes it. He's so funny. He just had an album come out, but he runs a show called Good Heroin in Echo Park, and it's just like this show they run behind Stories on Sunset, which is like a bookstore, and it's like honestly probably the best consistently good show in town. It's just always incredible comedians coming through. They do it once a week. It's free. And like I love LA because that's kind of where the vibe is shifting. It's like, yeah, the clubs are awesome. Like I know they do amazing things, like not to knock the clubs, but I do think it's really cool that there is this really beautiful like budding DIY scene, and I'm so stoked that like we're a part of that. Because it's really fun for me when, you know, we try to have like one, maybe two kind of more accomplished people each show, just because it's like, you know, we like having that draw power, and it means a lot when I hear people be like, I've heard so many good things about this show, and I'm like, what? That's wild to me, dude. Like that's crazy. We ended up having Dave Ross on our show in July, and in the middle of his set, he's like, I just want to say, I think this show is really fun. You guys should keep supporting stuff like this because this is like the kind of shows I love to do. And then he went and did James Corden like the Wednesday after our show. So that was just such a cool little moment to have someone who's like crushing it that hard say something about our show like that.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell everyone where they could find you, and if you got anything upcoming you want to promote, I'll give you the floor. The floor is yours.
Dude, all right, here we go.
Go for it.
So you can find me on Instagram, at Max Castillo Comedy, on Twitter at Max Tells Jokes. Follow Scoopty Boopties at Scoopty SCOOPTY BOOPTYS, no apostrophe. Follow us on Instagram for our upcoming shows. Our next show is going to be October 19th. It's our Halloween show. It's going to be real fun. And then I'm on Heavy Lolo at Bar Lubbish in West Hollywood in the next few weeks. Follow Key Lime Pie Comedy on YouTube and Instagram. I don't think I forgot anything else.
You got it all?
Shouts out all my friends, family, my mom. I love you. That's it. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. I appreciate your time for sure, man.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
Hell yeah. This is awesome.
You got it. So there you have it. My conversation with Max Castillo. That was just so much fun. Max is a funny dude, and he's a good dude, too. May he become best friends with Donald Glover, and may he have the career of Stephanie Courtney, a.k.a. Flo the Progressive Lady. Anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening for sure. Thanks as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.